And apparently Kim Jong-un is coming to the location to join this ceremony.
Yes, that car seems to be the one that he was riding on earlier. So yes, Moon Jae-in, the South Korean president, has already arrived at the venue, and it seems that this car will most likely be carrying North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
Yes, they too are planning to have jointly participate in a tree planting ceremony. And they're going to use water and soil from each side of Korea.
That's right.
And that's symbolic in terms of prosperity and peace of the Korean Peninsula. That's what they're trying to send a message to the world.
Yes, this is a key historic moment that had been announced earlier prior to this summit. So we had been expecting this ceremony to happen. There is the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, now stepping out of the car to, of course, approach Moon Jae-in.
So that is a pine tree, and it actually planted in 1953.
Yes, it was sown in 1953, which is the year marking the armistice signing to end the fighting of the Korean War.
That's right.
And pine trees are a species loved by Korean people because the pine tree stands for strength and wisdom and, of course, a symbol of peace, which is something that the two leaders have been pushing for all day long. As you said, Takashi, soil from both Koreas. So one, of course, Mount Pakdu in the north and then Mount Hala in the south.
Yes.
Both mountain soil being used in this ceremony.
Yes, so by using both soil and water from each side, they are presenting the unity and the reconciliation of those two countries, which has been divided by the war.
We see that parts of both sides' delegations have also joined the two leaders. We are expecting a water sprinkling as well, but we haven't seen it happen yet. We're not quite sure what's being discussed right now. Let's see how this ceremony proceeds. Kim's sister is with him right now.
Yes.
As she helps him with the gloves.
Yes, she's always with him.
Yeah, she's been with him all day as well. She is a symbolic character as well. We've been seeing she led the delegation from Pyongyang to Pyeongchang for the Olympics.
Right. And she was the one who brought the message from his brother that will pave the way for this summit meeting.
Right, today's summit, exactly.
And the soil Moon Jae-in is putting is from Haral Mountain, and the soil Kim Jong-un is putting is from Paektu Mountain.
At this symbolic place, we are all here together. At this symbolic place, we're here together. So, with good hearts, let's all be like this soil that we put for this pine tree. Let's make sure that just like this pine tree, our future will also grow together.
김정은 위원장님께서는 서울 한강물을
There will now be
문재인 대통령께서는 평양
a
대동강물을
water sprinkling ceremony. President Moon will sprinkle water from North Korea, and Chairman Kim will sprinkle water from the River Han from South Korea.
네, 이어서 표지석 개막식을 하시겠습니다.
And now
김정은 위원장님께서
there will be
표지석에
the unveiling ceremony of the inscription stone of the tree planting ceremony.
자, 하나 둘 셋 하면 세게 당겨주시겠습니다. 하나 둘 셋.
Planting peace and prosperity. I am positive that our future will grow together, just like this tree that we both planted.
It means that we will grow together and we will be able to enjoy co-prosperity together.
이어서 기념 촬영이 있겠습니다.
And next, we are going to have a commemorative photo.
먼저 두 분 정상께서 나무 앞에서 한번 찍으시겠습니다. 네, 그렇게 먼저 하시겠습니다. 예.
So Takashi,
Yes.
this is the stone plaque with the message of peace and prosperity that we had expected them to unveil.
That's right. And peace and prosperity is one of the key phrases that they've been repeatedly using and to represent the unity and reconciliation of the two Koreas. And that's the greatest message coming out of from this inter-Korean summit.
Right. They have been using this message all day now. And many of the things that are happening today are very symbolic.
It is.
They really are trying to make the impression of cooperation and support.
That's right.
Leading into further discussions, it seems, in the future. But what do you think of all this symbolism today?
Yes, remember, just 1 year ago, we saw many missiles coming to our direction.
That's
and
right.
also nuclear tests.
So this is a drastic change from what we were seeing last
It is.
year. We did see that thawing of diplomatic relations suddenly. Well, Moon Jae-in had, of course, been pushing for this sort of a meeting
Yes.
with the North. And then at the beginning of this year, it seemed Kim Jong-un was also willing to come closer.
Yes.
When he spoke about a delegation sending people to the Pyeongchang Olympics in the South.
That's right. When Kim Jong-un made a New Year's remarks in January, that was a kind of watershed moment to change the tide from the confrontation to seeking for peace. And now it's coming into this stage. And now they are talking about peace and prosperity now. But they have to find a way how to achieve it. So in that sense, this is a starting moment to materialize what they've been seeking for.
Certainly is. And we have to note that the last time the two leaders, well, leaders from the two countries met was in 2007.
That's
and
right.
then this rapid development all of a sudden over the past few months.
That's right, especially North Korea's nuclear development has been reached to a highest point at this moment. That's why the tensions on the Korean Peninsula flared up last year. And from the turn of this year, things has been changing. And we would like to see how this develops. And this can be a new starting point.
Right. Well, now the two leaders are walking together around Panmunjom. We are expecting them to go over to a place where there's a footbridge.
Yes.
And that's where a signpost marking the demarcation line stands. We will have to see when they will arrive at the bridge. Not very many people are walking with them. And so we will have to see what sort of discussions they are having as they walk.
Yeah, we are quite interested in what kind of conversation they have while they're in this situation, because in the meeting room they won't be able to discuss much in a personal manner. But this is the only occasion that these two leaders privately talk with each other.
Yes, this is a very personal moment, isn't it?
That's right. And they can talk in the same language.
It has been a while since we've seen leader Kim Jong-un moving so freely, so to speak,
That's right.
In this way. Of course, we'd like to hear what they are talking about.
We cannot get the
but
sound.
yes, unfortunately, we won't be getting much
But
more sound.
this conversation may pave the way for the upcoming next session of the summit.
Right. And of course, they are hoping this will precede a first ever U.S. North Korea
That's right.
meeting.
So for that, both leaders have the upcoming summit meeting between Kim Jong-un and Trump in mind.
Yes.
And they share the same interest. To have this summit meeting is the starting point for the upcoming bigger summit between the U.S. and North Korea.
Right. Well, they should be reaching that footbridge soon. But of course, later on in the evening, or we don't, oh, there is the bridge.
Yes.
They are approaching footbridge, where a signpost marking the demarcation line stands. This bridge was actually widened and extended for the talks, and the color blue symbolizes the United Nations flag and also
That's right.
the color of peace for the Korean Peninsula. And of course, it is symbolic that the two leaders will be approaching this bridge together for a new age of cooperation and prosperity for the peninsula.
We can even hear the birds tweeting.
Yes, it certainly is a beautiful day there today.
It is. And Moon Jae-in said, spring has come to the Korean Peninsula.
Spring, yes, that word too is also a message that they've been sending from early today.
That's right.
Spring marks a new beginning for the two Koreas. This bridge, of course, was symbolic for the ending of the Korean War. Technically,
That's right.
they're still at war.
Yeah, that's right. That's the point. Because although the conflict, military conflict, was ended with armistice, but technically these two countries are still at war, and they would like to end that. And I think they're discussing also possibility of peace treaty, because armistice is just a ceasefire, so
Exactly.
they would like to make it a permanent one. That
Right.
means they would like to have some kind of path toward making a peace treaty.
And of course, we'll see whether that comes out today
That's right.
in a statement. We are expecting a joint statement from the two later on.
So according to the South Korean governmental spokesman, they are going to sign some kind of agreement, and they are going to jointly announce it. Let's see what kind of wording coming out of that agreement.
They'll be joined by their wives as well for a banquet later today, and that too is another symbolic moment.
It is. So actually every movement is highly choreographed.
Oh, it certainly is. And the South Korean spokesperson has been talking about the itinerary for the day over and over, updating the media on what will happen in the coming hours. It's almost as if they're keeping our attention
Yes.
on this meeting all day. because, as you said, much of this is very symbolic and choreographed.
It is.
To leave that strong impression of cooperation and working towards peace.
Yes. Although most of the proceedings of these ceremonies are highly choreographed, there are some impromptu actions, like the one we saw when these two leaders crossed to the north side together,
Yes.
hands in hand.
When Kim Jong-un invited Moon Jae-in to
That's
cross
right.
with him.
Was a very impromptu
That certainly was.
move.
And I think those impromptu moments are really what catches people's attention
That's right.
around the world. So they together looked at the signpost that marked the demarcation line, and then they're now sitting down for a chat and a photo opportunity by much of the press that has been allowed in to this area. That alone is rare, isn't it?
It is, it is. This is a very rare occasion, and we don't know what they are talking about, but looking
I
at...
know. It'd be so nice to be able to hear, but
That's right. Looking at Kim Jong-un's face, not smile. He's not smiling.
No,
so
he's
they
very
may
serious.
be discussing some concrete things rather than ceremonial things.
yes, he has a very serious impression on
It
his
is.
face, which is something that has been a bit rare today. He was more all smiles earlier
Yeah,
on, but there he is with the camera,
Yes.
and in front of the camera, we're seeing him smile again.
Yes.
So
Just for the photo op.
yes, he certainly is sending a message himself about a new Kim Jong-un, it seems,
Yes.
compared to what we were seeing over the past year, as you mentioned, with the missiles and nuclear tests.
Yes. In the morning session, South Korean government spokesperson said they discussed three things. One is the denuclearization
Yes.
of the Korean Peninsula, and peace, permanent peace on Korean Peninsula, and thirdly, improvement of inter-Korean relations.
And it seems pretty set that denuclearization will be in that joint statement today.
That's right. And that is a key agenda that Kim Jong-un is going to discuss with Mr. Trump when they meet in late May or early June.
It's also interesting to note that the North Korean media, the state-run broadcaster, was quiet in the morning, and then they finally started broadcasting reports about developments of this meeting, but they're not mentioning the nuclear issue yet, whereas the South side has been mentioning denuclearization
That's
all
right.
along.
So see, they have different interests.
We really will have to see then what that joint statement will look like.
It is.
How much longer they will be discussing, just the two of them.
Yeah, this
here on
is more
bridge.
of a private summit meeting.
It certainly is. No other officials around them right now.
No.
This stroll was expected to be about an hour long. Right now, we've seen from the planting about 15 minutes or so. So we'll have to see how long,
Yes, this
much more they will continue to talk.
Obviously, they are discussing details rather than just, ceremonial things. So basically, during this conversation, they will come up with something that they would like to put it on agreement.
It will be interesting to see also how the United States will continue then to react to this meeting today.
Yes.
We've heard earlier from Sarah Sanders a statement. They were optimistic about
Yes.
this actual meeting.
Yeah, actually, South Korea is coordinating President Moon Jae-in's trip to Washington next month. So in a week's time, Moon Jae-in will go to Washington to report on what they have discussed, actually what they are discussing at this moment.
Currently, exactly.
Yes.
So then Moon Jae-in is really acting as a messenger between North Korea and the United States.
Yes.
지금은
It's almost as if we could hear, but
Yeah, I
we
wish
just have to
I
see.
could read his lips.
And if we can, of course, hear anything they're saying, we will try to provide that with simultaneous interpretation.
Yes.
But if the stroll is expected to go on for the hour that was previously announced, then
Yes.
this will continue then for another, perhaps, over 40 minutes.
Yeah, we're just discussing a private summit meeting, and this is very important when they get together once again to formalize the final agreement.
We had been expecting them to continue into the afternoon session with discussions after lunch. It was a long lunch break that they took, and we were all waiting for that tree planting ceremony to take place, which just did at about 4:30 local time. And this afternoon talk session is currently happening outside instead of behind closed doors, although the two of them are in a very personal situation without other officials joining them for this.
Yeah, they are even not taking any notes.
Sipping over perhaps tea. We saw Moon Jae-in take a sip from a cup just now. We will, of course, on NHK Newsline keep you updated with further developments of this inter-Korean summit, this very historic and important meeting that is currently going on. Takashi, would you like to say one more thing before we close off for this hour?
In about 1 hour and a half, they are going to have official dinner. That means official summit meeting will last not so long. So right now is a very important moment for them to formalize their final agreement.
Yes, and it's a waiting moment for us as we wait to see what those discussions develop into in the upcoming joint statement and, of course, that banquet later in the evening. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll have more on NHK Newsline.